Welcome to the Lone Zebra podcast, where I share my nitty-gritty health story and what I learned from the School of Hard Knocks. Things that doctors will never tell you. Hi, I'm your host, Diane Lalomia, and I'm glad you're here. We zebras need to stick together. Today on the Lone Zebra, episode 014. Happy New Year, everybody! We're going to be talking about how the truth shall set you free. You betcha, we're going to be free as a bird come this new year. 2024 is going to be exceptional year for all of us because we are going to learn the truth and it's going to set us free. Tonight is the new year and the date happens to be 1-2-3-1-2-3-12-31-23. 1-2-3-1-2-3. Okay, I've had enough fun. Okay, it's Happy New Year tonight. So it's the night for making resolutions for the new year. What's your New Year's resolution? Have you made one? Do you know what you want for this year? 2024 is in front of you. You can do anything that you have set your mind and have faith, because it makes all things possible. What is it that you want to do this year? Me? You're asking me what I want? Well, I want to feel better. And I'm going to, because I have figured out how God made me. I love myself. I'm accepting of myself. But I want to be the best of me that I can be. And that is my New Year's resolution, to be the best that I can be. I'm not competing with you. I'm not going to compete with anybody else. I'm only going to better myself. I'm going to learn new things all the time. My dad used to tell me that was the one secret that kept you young. Learning something new every day, and I try to do it. I'm going to be talking today a little bit in the next section on the resolution and nutrition that I'm going to implement this year, because I have come to the conclusion, put the dots together, connected them all, and figured out what it looks like. Yep, I finally have some answers, and I'm going to share them with you. Stay tuned. Reading from Women of Purpose, a daily devotional for discovering a meaningful life in Christ by Sarah Daigle, Day 35. If you abide in my word, you are truly my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. John chapter 8, verse 31b through 32, ESV. Living with purpose means we know there is a purpose to each circumstance in our lives, whether it is good or bad. We live by truth. Here are some truths to speak over our lives today. When I feel the pain of mistreatment, I listen to God's truth that forgiveness sets me free from bitterness. By listening to truth, I am no longer destroyed by anything that happens to me. I experience cleansing from my own sin because our Father forgives us as we forgive our debtors. Matthew chapter 6, verse 12. When I feel like I can't handle something, I trust that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. When I trust, an invisible strength courses through me, and I know where my source lies. I can only trust like that when there is nothing else to fall back on, and there is no other option but Jesus. When I have feelings of self-hatred, I remember that I am fearfully and wonderfully made for God's own glory and pleasure. Who am I to fret over what I perceive to be imperfections? When I feel worthless, I remember that to my Father I am worth the life of His Son. My quest for love ends the moment I believe how much I am already loved and valued. When I want more possessions than I have, I know instead that godliness with contentment is great gain. I focus on what I do have and suddenly see myself as one of the most blessed people on earth. When I idolize any person, I remember that there is only one God, and that is our Father in heaven. Any human will let me down. I remember to give glory where it is due. When I feel jealousy rising over something another possesses, I remember to rejoice in all goodness, talent, and beauty, wherever it is seen, because it is God's heart to show His glory everywhere. Anything of value in someone else is a showcase of God's own beauty. When I feel less than any other person, I remember that God created me, and in Him lies all significance. Goodness or perceived greatness on earth should only draw our hearts upward to the source. He displays it here to draw our hearts there. When I fear death, I remember that there is no fear in love, according to 1 John chapter 4, verse 18. And precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of His saints. Psalms 116, verse 15. I know that for me to live in Christ and to die is gain. Philippians chapter 1, verse 21. When the world says I need a nicer car, I listen to God's truth of contentment in all things. I know my value is not based on what I own. When my heart recoils at being corrected or rebuked, I listen to God's truth in Proverbs, which says a wise man hears rebukes and becomes wiser for it. Only a fool hardens his heart. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 5. When I want to eat anything I want whenever I want, I listen to what I know is true, that God created my body with certain needs. He also designed food in a certain way to nourish us. Eating for emotional needs only makes us more depressed, as we now have health issues, or added pounds to deal with on top of everything else. When I feel stressed in my normal mommy world, I remind myself that I'm doing exactly what I want to do most. Any vocation has challenges. As I embrace truth, I find myself overjoyed by the simplest things. My times away from it all are even better because I'm drenched in truth while I'm home, and truth affects my soul, my mothering, my everything. When the world says that women who follow their husband's lead are placing themselves at a lower level of value, I smile inside as I remember that Adam was lonely and incomplete without a helper who was suitable for him. I know that women are the most beautiful creatures God created, and men would cease to thrive if they didn't exist. Just because my role is different doesn't mean it is any less. When I feel like a trial would never end, I remember that all things do come to an end. Most things change in time, and if they never do, this time on earth is still short in comparison to eternity. Our joy is not dependent on circumstances. As Corrie ten Boom says, there is no pit so deep where God's love is not deeper. When I feel condemnation and cannot come to God in faith for my sins for fear that I have not done it right, I remember that Jesus shedding His blood for me was the most perfect thing ever done, and it was done for me. I don't need to do it right. because he is my perfect sacrifice. When I fear the aging process in my body, I remember that my values are different than the world's. The silver-haired head is a crown of glory, if it is found in the way of righteousness. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 31, New King James Version. When I feel like I cannot endure a trial any longer, I remember that I'm surrounded in a bubble of protection by God's love. Nothing on earth or in hell can destroy me. Whatever I perceive to be destructive to my well-being and happiness, God turns into something for my good and growth. But only if I listen to his promise. We know that all things work together for good to those that love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. Romans chapter 8, verse 23, New King James Version. When we refuse to follow our fear and listen instead to what God says, we discover more, and more freedom. It's time to discover deep inner joy by allowing God's truth to set us free. Lord, help us not to walk in clouds of our own making any longer. Help us to toss lies aside and make way for truth to change our lives. Amen. So today is a new year and a new me. I want to talk about a new vitamin protocol because I've figured out my biggest problem for my chronic disease is called a lot of different names, but the one that I'll refer to first is pyroluria. Pyroluria. It is a deficiency in B6 and zinc. It is caused by a genetic disorder. I have referred to it as pyroluria. It is also known as pyrrole disease, also known as cryptopyrrole. B6 is important vitamin. And if you don't get enough, it's not good at all. It has to do with a lot of things that have to do with your nerves. And some people will try to tell you that B6 you can get toxic, and you can if you take too much B6 and you don't need it. Deficiency of pyridoxine or vitamin B6 is most common in those of us who eat diets centered around junk or convenience foods. Food processing destroys up to 90% of vitamin B6 content of any food, which means that whole, fresh foods are the key natural source. Many menstrual problems, including PMS, are also linked to small deficiencies of this vitamin. I had endometriosis, which is associated with mast cell, but it's also associated with menstrual problems. And I'm reading from the book Vitamins and Minerals by Karen Sullivan. It's one of my favorite books. Vitamin B6 is another of the water-soluble vitamins, and any excess is normally excreted from the body about 8 hours after ingestion. Because of this, and because of up to 90% of the vitamin is destroyed through food processing, deficiency is quite common. Vitamin B6 is also known as pyridoxine or pyridoxinol and pyridoxamine, all of which are related substances. Pyridoxine is the most commonly used form of vitamin B6. Women taking hormone replacement therapy, or HRT, or the contraceptive pill will have increased requirements. So too will people with diets high in protein or with an excessive alcohol consumption. B6 is necessary for the production of hydrochloric acid and magnesium, necessary for the absorption of vitamin B12. It's also necessary for the production of antibodies and red blood cells. Metabolizes protein, carbohydrates, and fats. And B6 helps metabolize and transport selenium. It's a natural diuretic. It helps the body to absorb zinc. Alleviates nausea. Promotes synthesis of nucleic acids. Deficiency symptoms are anemia, insomnia, kidney stones, morning sickness, premenstrual syndrome, or PMS, skin rashes and dry skin, nervousness, and infant convulsions. Good sources of vitamin B6 are avocados, bananas, fish, wheat bran, liver, cantaloupe, cabbage, milk, eggs, seeds. It lists therapeutic uses. In other words, it might help. By B6, taking some B6 supplements might help you if you suffer from night muscle spasms, leg cramps, hand numbness, morning sickness, skin and nervous disorders, insulin resistance, PMS, carpal tunnel syndrome, asthma, kidney stones, anemia, fluid retention, childhood autism, or heart disease. Now, I'm not prescribing anyone any dosages. You'll have to check it out with your doctor and see what kind of dosage you might need. Test, don't guess. But for me, with the issue that I have, I need to take it. And I take both forms, the P5P form and the typical B6 pyridoxine form, HCl. But that is the information on B6. Now, there is information on zinc, which is the other vitamin-mineral combination. Zinc is a mineral. Zinc is one of the most important trace elements playing a part in many vital body processes, including genetic communication and protection of the immune system. White spots on fingernails and certain skin problems may suggest deficiency. While mild deficiency is common, supplementation over 30 milligrams a day can unbalance other nutrients required increased copper, iron, and selenium intake. Remember I said there was a balance with zinc and copper, and apparently other things as well. Zinc is one of the most important trace elements in our diet and is required for more than 200 enzyme activities within the body. This mineral is a principal protector of the immune system and is crucial in the regulation of our genetic information. Zinc is also crucial for the structure and function of cell membranes. Mild zinc deficiency is very common and may cause a number of conditions, including male infertility, low birth weight, and teenage acne. Zinc is needed for male fertility. It's required for hormones, immunity, growth, energy metabolism, hemoglobin. Zinc is necessary for storage of insulin. Transports carbon dioxide, necessary for prostaglandin synthesis, necessary for the synthesis of collagen. There we go for you EDS zebras. Necessary for vitamin A metabolism and distribution. Detoxifies alcohol. Prevents cancer. Prevents blindness associated with aging. May help to protect against the degeneration effects of aging. It's an antioxidant. Deficiency symptoms would include white spots on the fingernails, or like I said, in my nails, it was what they call bow ridges or horizontal ridges. skin rashes, poor hair growth, skin problems, abnormal hair loss, acne, anorexia, depression, irritability, mental illness, underfunctioning sex glands, lethargy, infertility in men, poor growth in children, slow wound healing, and impaired sense of taste and smell. Zinc supplements may help to lower the risk of cancer, boost brain power, and balance blood sugar. Zinc is also necessary for the sense organs that provide hearing, vision, taste, and smell. Good sources of zinc are offal, like kidney, liver, heart. Offal, OFFAL, in case you haven't heard that before. Meat is another good source. Mushrooms, seeds, nuts, oysters, eggs, whole grain products, and brewer's yeast. Therapeutic uses are listed as male infertility, acne, anorexia, mouth ulcers, viral infections, including the common cold, herpes, post-surgically, sickle cell anemia, tinnitus, thyroid function, immune problems, arthritis, ulcers, growth problems, cancer, allergies, alcoholism. Zinc is thought to be non-toxic, although very high doses may cause some nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. Women who are pregnant or breastfeeding will have increased zinc requirements. Check with your OBGYN for specifics. Chronic illness, surgery, wounds, and infections require extra zinc in order for healing to take place, especially the zebras. Try to avoid drinking tea or coffee in the same meal as the zinc-rich foods or supplements since they can inhibit its metabolism. Zinc deficiency may also be high in those taking the contraceptive pill or taking iron or folic acid supplements. The best forms of zinc are zinc citrate, zinc gluconate, zinc picolinate, and zinc monomethionine. Zinc deficiency in pregnant women is associated with low birth weight babies. So, B6 and zinc are important to combat the effects of pyroluria, cryptopyrrole, pyrrole disease, different names for the same condition, low B6 and zinc. It is required to replenish the values of those and continue taking it if you have this condition. Please see your doctor to confirm whether or not you need more or not. But for me, it is important. They seem to think that this is the missing piece for those people who have been treated for Lyme disease and other chronic diseases and have not seen results so far in recovering despite the treatments, may be missing these critical vitamins and minerals, and this may be the difference. This may be the ticket to breaking through some of the resistant chronic diseases we see today. Well, today we're talking about letting go of perfection. Understanding that we're human. We're not perfect. Jesus is. Women try to be perfect. Oh, they try to have their hair just right and their makeup done just so. Their nails, perfection. And their dress, the envy of every woman in the room. But why? Is that really beauty? Or is beauty something deeper? Beauty, to me, is what's in your heart, what's in your soul, not what's on your face. As a matter of fact, I never really wanted to be perfect, if it meant that. I was a tomboy. I didn't like the smell of fingernail polish. I didn't like wearing makeup. Didn't like the way it made me feel. And when I tried to color my hair on the few occasions, it was a chemistry experiment. My red hair, naturally redhead when I was born, strawberry blonde growing up, had turned kind of a mousy brown. So I tried using some blonde hair coloring. Big mistake. It turned out like Bozo the Clown, an orange, who wasn't pretty. Then I tried this little packet of a little packet of purple liquid that you added to it that was supposed to tone down the reds. It still didn't work. I even tried ash blonde colors instead of lighter colors. All it did was made my scalp burn like it was on fire. I sat in front of a fan, wondering what in the world was I doing. It didn't take me long to realize that this was not something I was cut out for. I didn't care, so I wasn't perfect. Either you loved me or you didn't. And that's kind of the way I've lived my adult life. I spent my childhood trying to be perfect, the perfect child, the one that never complained, the one that was great going along, moving every year to a different home and not having any friends and never complaining. Yeah, that got old. I outgrew that. Now I tell it like it is. And I haven't moved in how many years? 17, I think it's now. Just love all your stripes as a zebra because God made you that way for a purpose. And I'm here to help you, and that's my purpose. That's why I've been a zebra. That's why I've had to have the School of Hard Knocks to learn the hard lessons, to help you avoid them, the pitfalls, that is. But being a zebra, we're tough. Today's featured music is Life in Peace, performed by David Celeste. Enjoy. Have a happy new year. All information in this podcast or on the website, blog, or in newsletters is for educational purposes only and not intended to be construed as medical advice, diagnosis, or prescription. Please seek the help of a medical professional to get treatment for your particular condition. Thanks for listening to the Lone Zebra podcast. Don't forget to check out the show notes at dianelalomia.substack.com. That's Diane, D-I-A-N-E, Lalomia, LALOMIA.substack.com. Music on the podcast is provided by Epidemic Sound. See the show notes for featured music and artists. Don't forget to share this podcast with your family and friends, especially fellow zebras. And don't forget to rate The Lone Zebra on your favorite podcast app so others can find me. Until next time, blessings. Have a great day.